with really thin oils. And these are not synthetic brushes. These are made to, they have a long handle. If you use synthetic brushes for water-based materials with oil, the Gamsol will eat through the fibers and you'll have all the hair in your painting and stuff. So just make sure you're using something that, they're more expensive. Everything for oil is more expensive, you guys, sorry. It's just the way it is. But you only need a few brushes, a small, medium, large. And I would say for the painting styles we're doing, this is large enough, okay? Because anything larger than that, I'm going to show you how to use a rag to paint with. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Gamsol on my brush here, and I'm going to come over here on my palette, and I'm going to grab some paint, and I'm just going to mix it in. And this is a really loose, we call this a wash. This is a wash, just like it is in watercolor. This is a wash, it's really thin. It's going to dry really fast, but it's going to allow me to lay in my colors really thin so I know where to start building. You build a painting. So thin and thick. You want to retain the thinness because that's the light, that's the luminosity in the painting. So some areas you'll be reducing the paint even. But we're going to start here, and I'm just going to start laying the color in the way that, real thin, the way that she's done. We've got some pencil here. I'm worried about that pencil, so I'm going to clean my brush off. I'm actually going to go over with pure Gamsol some of the pencil so it doesn't mud up my colors. This will fix it. When you do a grid on your palette painting too, you want to push that back a little bit. Don't do it so hard so it's lighter. But we can paint over it, okay? I'm going to not go over that with Gamsol. I'm just going to go over your main object so that you can like erase it. Gamsol will fix the pencil to the canvas, to the primer, so that we don't have it mixing with the oil paint to mud our oil paints. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the paint and I'm going to lay this in. I see it over here a little bit. Down here. And I'm just really quickly, this is Alla Prima, wet on wet. We're going to do this fast and loose. And after we get enough colors on, I'm going to show you how to go back into it and blend the colors by hand with a rag. And this is still the underpainting. And you can go back to the pink later and add more if we didn't add enough. This is just a mapping out of the color, thin layers of color. I feel like there's... So I'm going to add the yellow now. I'm not going to do the whole painting, I'm just going to do parts of it, okay? And you can add more. And notice how there's some green. I'm going to mix that right on the palette with the wash. That green's a little greener, so I'm going to add some more yellow. Viridian's a hard thing to imitate too. If you want, you could use your cerulean. It's nice to mix color quickly like this because you'll find that you'll look into it later and you'll be like, oh, that's really pretty. I want to maintain that. I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to leave that there and build on that. And it's a, nice, loose, visceral exercise. So now I want to show you this. That was additive. When you apply paint to the canvas on a brush, that's called additive, okay? And there's a, see how I turned my towel? Keep turning my towel around so I don't get paint on my canvas. But I can use the rag to blend. And sometimes I might leave the paint a little thicker in areas. It's nice to build the painting and start thin, but like build up thickness. So I have purity of color here, but I still have the light, and I'm creating this luminosity. The other thing I'm doing is I'm creating in a more emotive, atmospheric space. It's movement, has movement to it. And this is the underpainting. Again, it's thin, very thin, and it's a mapping out of the colors. When you paint with oil, you have to paint fat over lean. So this is the leanest layer, sometimes called Marcel, which means dead painting. It's dead because you're going to paint over it. So it's going to be behind everything. See? So that's starting to look like something now, isn't it? Yeah, and has a lot of light. And so now, once I get all the underpainting laid in, what I want to do is start pulling back on the Gamsol. I'll start pulling back on the Gamsol and start just using just the paint that I've made. And I might go in and white is very opaque. So if you want thicker areas, you might go in with in areas and add back in more and more heavier paint. I can still go back and forth and blend. You can do this with a foam brush or with your towel. And it's becoming atmospheric. It has an emotive quality to it, but I'm still maintaining the light in places. Okay? We do want to start covering up this grid. The grid's been drawn on too dark, so make sure when you're doing an underdrawing, you're a little lighter, not so heavy-handed with that, so we can easily paint over it, okay? But one way to do that would be like this. Use more white. White's very opaque and thick. See? So as we get thicker, we'll start to cover up that marks, okay? So you want to build it up, okay? But you still want to maintain some light areas too. So thick and thin. Loose and tight. Every great painting is thick and thin and loose and tight. Okay? So that's how you do an underpainting. I think that's good for that one. Who else?